So yeah, I think I've talked about the Nintendo Switch enough on here. Time for a change of pace. I wanted to start this video off with a foreword to clarify something. I don't see myself becoming a full-on game reviewer or a full-on television and animation critic. I see myself doing both in the future of my channel. I don't want to be the spiritual successor to Pan Pizza or, God forbid, Mr. Enter, nor some call me Johnny Balrog, Kedicarus, or Ant Dude. I kinda see myself doing both, honestly. Considering how I'm starting to gain a following on Twitter especially, I think it's about time to gain some ground on YouTube. Unless, the inevitability that this site will come crashing down and imploding on itself, but that's just a possibility. So with that said, not to worry, I still plan on doing more animation videos. I just need to get to writing them, honestly. I love both gaming and animation, so what I've always wanted to do is talk about both in the future. I'll try to keep what I talk about as varied as possible, as I don't want to take some cartoons as seriously as that guy. But yeah, there's my perspective. With that said, welcome to my Kirby retrospective. Now you might be wondering, oh, this is just like Ant Dude. Yeah, it's got Kirby, it's got the marathon, it's Ant Dude. I don't see it as ripping off or leeching off of Ant Dude's series of videos on Kirby, more as it's mostly just a series of videos inspired by him. Not to mention he's wrapping up his Kirby videos while I'm starting from the top. I don't really see it as copying, but your mileage may vary. And if Anthony himself has a problem with somebody else on the internet talking about Kirby, then he can fucking say it to my face. Kirby's Dream Land. Developed by HAL Laboratory and directed by series creator Masahiro Sakurai, this was the very first game starring our favorite pink puffball. Only he's technically not yet pink in the American localization, as due to the Game Boy's monochrome screen, plus an argument between Sakurai and Shigeru Miyamoto over which color Kirby should be, Nintendo of America decided to make Kirby white on the box art. They also decided to go with this advertisement.
Recently we compared two superheroes, Dashing Super Guy and Kirby from Nintendo. In some ways, Kirby lost big. No big hair, no big muscles, no weapons, nothing. All Kirby's got is appetite.
Fucking wow. King Dedede, the self-proclaimed ruler of Dreamland, has stolen the food supply from the citizens of Dreamland. Talk about a greedy fat bastard. Kirby, a resident of Dreamland, goes to stop the king and retrieve the food supply. And I'm just gonna say this right here, right now, compared to literally every other main series Kirby game after this game feels barren. Not necessarily in the level design itself, that's fine, but the mechanics feel dated. Kirby can fly infinitely as well as inhale enemies and shoot them back out as projectiles, but that's about it moveset wise. The only thing to really spice up gameplay is the occasional power-up Kirby can find lying around. There's a microphone Kirby can use to kill all the enemies on screen at once, as well as a bomb Kirby can spit back out to detonate enemies in front of him. But the best power-up in the game by far is the Super Spicy Curry. Once you pick it up, Kirby can shoot fire out at surrounding enemies, all while a catchy as hell theme plays. There's also a flying variant you can find later in the game that basically allows you to do the exact same thing while flying, and it's essential for beating a specific boss fight we'll talk about a little bit later, but mostly briefly. In fact, let's talk about the soundtrack for a second. It's fantastic. Almost all of these tracks would become iconic with the Kirby series as a whole, especially Green Green's and King Dedede's theme, the latter of which was later updated and extended in Kirby Superstar. Some have said that great music can help enrich a game's experience, and that's definitely the case with Kirby's Dream Land. All of the bosses in the game have become synonymous with the series as well, all four becoming recurring enemies in the series. Wispy Woods, Lololo and Lalala, Kabula, and Kracko all have unique fights and are definitely a highlight of the adventure. See what I did there? I said briefly for a reason. There's not much to talk about with Kirby's Dream Land. After obtaining all of the sparkling stars, we reach our final destination, Mount Dedede, where the king himself awaits, but not without a boss rush! You refight all four of the game's bosses in whichever order you'd like. In each room, you start off with a short remix segment of the stage the boss was featured in. The door leading to the boss is blocked off by a Gordo, so in order to get to it, you have to touch this Kirby doppelganger? Boy, what the fuck you doing here? Destroying him destroys both the Gordo and any other enemy that was on the screen at that time. The one thing I will note is that with all the bosses is that when fighting them, with the exception of Kabula, the regular level music plays instead of the boss theme. It's not a bad thing, it's just weird. Once you clobber all four bosses yet again, it's time to fight the big bad King Dedede himself. He's got 10 health points, but aside from that, really, he's not that hard. He jumps and swings his hammer around a lot and occasionally tries to inhale you and knock you around, but that's about it. Once you've memorized his moveset, he's really no big threat as long as you inhale the stars occasionally surrounding him and shoot them back his way. Once you slay him one last time, King Dedede flies straight out of the castle, and with the power of the stars he's collected over his journey, Kirby puffs up, flying the castle into the sky and returning the food the king stole to the citizens of Dreamland. Kirby flies off into the sunset, ending Kirby's Dreamland. And so, final thoughts. Dreamland 1 is a decent platformer, but not much else, sadly. It lays the blueprints for what's to come of the series nicely, the graphics are solid for Game Boy standards, and the music's fantastic, but that's about it. I wouldn't recommend it as a first game in the series, but if you want to see where the pudgy pink puffball got his start, go for it. Just don't go into it expecting too much. And yeah, that's about it. Kirby's Dream Land is your typical run-in-the-mill platformer, and not much else, unfortunately. But rest assured knowing that Sakurai and his team weren't done with Kirby quite yet. I mean, obviously. They took the puffball and rolled with it. Join me next time when I go over Kirby's Adventure for the NES and its remake, Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland for the Game Boy Advance. Till then, have yourselves a fantastic night, everybody, and take care.